welcome into Carpooling with Ben. Folks, you see a lot of different topics out there, a lot of different groups out there. You know, we try to bring them to you here. One of the groups that recently reached out is the Women's Fund of Rhode Island. Kelly Nevins, the executive director of the WFRI.
That's right, .org.
So, it sounds like a radio station. You're tuned in to WFRI, playing all the hits. Joins me in the car. Kelly, good to have you in here.
Nice to be here, yeah.
Drive around on this lovely rainy day. It could be snow, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm happy it's not.
Fingers crossed, we're doing good. You don't have to shovel rain.
Right.
You may have to pump out some basements, but you know, it's a lot better than the alternative. Kelly, thanks for jumping in. For people who don't know, what is the Women's Fund of Rhode Island? What do you guys do?
We're a nonprofit organization that invests in women and girls, you know, the Women's Fund of Rhode Island. We do that through research, advocacy, grant making, strategic partnerships, and our goal is to achieve gender equity through systemic change. So, you know, people are like, what is gender equity? And I always start with well, do you know that there's a gender wage gap? Most people know there's a gender wage gap.
If you've watched the news.
Yes.
If you've,
Yeah. So there are a lot of reasons for the gender wage gap. There's a lot of reasons for why women often don't have the same opportunities as men in the United States. And so we look to find where inequities exist, and we try to change the system so that everybody has equal opportunity towards success.
Earlier this year, you folks released some research.
We do,
data.
yeah. Every year we put out a new piece of research. This year we looked at how the state budget impacts women and families.
Okay.
So, you know, what you invest in through the budget says what your priorities are. And together with organizations like the Economic Progress Institute, who actually did the research, we looked at how the state budget impacts women and girls, and then we made some policy recommendations for change.
Okay.
So some of the things that we would love to see change are more investments in the Rhode Island Works program, increase to minimum wage, because women, particularly women, are impacted at the minimum wage level.
Okay.
There are more women who make minimum wage than men. Also, more investments in accessibility and affordability for childcare, and also making more investments in the caregiving community as a whole. So how much do we pay the people who provide care to our seniors, to our kids? Is it enough for handing people lives to take care of? And
Sure.
if not, how can we improve that?
Now, this information, obviously, we're just scratching the surface here in this, but all this information is available on your website.
Absolutely. We have a whole repository of all of our research. So
you want information? We can get you information.
That's
Don't
right.
you worry. We got
That's
the
right.
data to back it up.
You know, we specialize in what we call using a gender lens to look at issues.
Okay.
So the research that we have is really looking at a variety of different screens on how women fare against men in our state.
And it's very important to, you know, to consider all the various sources and,
Sure.
you know, where that research has come from, because there's a lot of stuff out there.
Yes.
I don't know if you heard about this thing called the internet.
Oh,
but
yeah.
At one point, people were standing brooms up randomly, thinking that it was because of, you know, the axis of the earth, because they saw it on the internet, the broomstick challenge. Little did they know. Any day of the year, my friend, except that February 29th. I don't know about that one. But you folks also advocate for a lot of things. We talked briefly about it when you're analyzing what the budget is and how that affects, and there's different pointers there.
So advocacy.
Yeah,
but part of what we do is we train women to advocate for change. So it's not just us who's doing it, but we have a program called the Women's Policy Institute that this year it's taking 16 women through a 9-month program where they learn about how bills get made into laws.
Yeah.
They look at a number of issues in the community, and this year they've decided that they want to tackle housing and women's economic justice as a whole for issues that they'd like to see some legislation around. And so they are working with different legislators about crafting bills that they would like to see made into law. Now, previous cohorts of our Women's Policy Institute have helped to pass paid family leave, which makes Rhode Island one of the few states in the nation that provides paid time off to welcome new children into your family, or care for a seriously ill loved one.
Sure.
They helped to repeal the tampon tax, which was a gender-based tax. Things like that are things that our Women's Policy Institute fellows work on.
Okay.
We also directly do some advocacy work up at the State House, and our work is focused on women's economic justice and also access to reproductive freedoms. So that's what we're working on this year. Yeah.
You talk about that 9-month program, that 9-month,
The Women's Policy Institute. Yeah.
So I'm guessing do you just start off with "I'm just a bill," and then it gets like really deep from there. Like
so total song and dance.
That's day one.
Yeah,
That's
right.
just day one. You said it's a whole it's a whole curriculum there. No, that's excellent to provide that kind of insight and education because it's so deep. And I mean, you look at back when we were in school, whether it be high school or middle school. There were certain classes back then that they don't offer now. You had shop, you had home ec, you had just life living. Now there's so much with technology and everything, and a lot of that stuff, unfortunately, is just no time. It kind of gets glossed over, so you miss out on some of those things that are just happening every day, no matter where you are, that are affecting your life, and you don't even realize it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other piece that's really important for us is making sure that women's voices are heard at the table.
Sure.
That saying, if you're not at the table, you're likely on the menu.
Oh.
So we want to make sure. You've
Hold on.
never heard that?
I've never heard that.
Well, I'm stealing it from somebody else.
Wow.
It's not a
No,
phrase
I'm going
that
to
I've
attribute
coined.
that to you. That's all yours. Kelly, let's take that.
So we want to make sure that women are at the table, and part of that is again, training them to advocate for change. We hope to see more women in government. Rhode Island is great in that we have 37% representation up in our General Assembly, but it's not 50%. So we still have ways to go. And when you look across the country, if you look at Congress, it's just about 20% representation. Again, we've got to change that. The more represented we are compared to where we are in representation of the community, the better we think that things change for everyone. And a different adage that I'm sure you've heard, a rising tide lifts all boats.
I've heard that one.
Yeah. So,
living in the seaside community of Warren, Rhode Island, I have heard that one.
Oh, yeah. Right.
If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. I like that. That's a good one. No, but I mean, I've heard everything else.
Good.
Like,
glad to have made your day.
I can't wait to tweet that later. No tweeting and driving, ladies and
No.
gentlemen. You folks can't do this without the, what's that stuff called?
Money.
Money!
Yeah, that's right.
You have an awesome fundraiser coming up pretty soon.
We
So
do.
talk to me about, it's the Women's Leading Change Celebration.
That's right. We actually have two fundraisers, but the first one is Women Leading Change. And this is our annual celebration where we make 2 awards to women who have led change in the community.
Okay.
This year we're honoring Vanessa Volz from Sojourner House and Arlene Violet.
Oh.
So both of them have been very vocal and active in making
Do you
change
think
in our
Arlene
community.
Violet's been vocal
Yeah,
though?
maybe just a
Do
little.
you think?
Just
I
a
mean,
little.
I don't know. I was gonna, offer to, take her through some confidence courses or something.
Sure, right,
It's like-
right.
No, she is. I mean, obviously, she's just a wealth of information and just a long time figure here. And then from Sojourner House, you said
Vanessa Volz, the executive director,
okay.
right? So both of them have made real active, they've made change and also been very active in trying to level the playing field for women and girls in our state. So we want to make sure that we honor them as well as talk about what year is this? It's the 100th anniversary of, do you know?
No.
Not even a guess. You've probably heard this, and it's sitting in the back of your mind. This year is the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote.
Oh, okay, yes, okay, yes. Like,
Well,
I'm thinking there's so many things. I mean, I'm just really hungry, so I'm hoping I'm not on a menu.
That's
So the
right.
19th Amendment, 100th year, yes. Please don't mistake my lack of knowing that. My lack of understanding.
It's quite all right. It is the 100th anniversary, which is, it's a time of commemoration.
Sure,
but frankly,
absolutely.
even though women got the right to vote, it took much longer for all women to be able to have the ability to exercise
Correct.
that right to vote. And also, we have yet to see equity in our community. So we're going to commemorate the anniversary, but we still have a ways to go. And we're using that Women Leading Change celebration as an opportunity to highlight that.
I mean, if there was ever a catalyst
Yes.
to raise awareness, Arlene's one of them.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Certainly there. So when is that event?
So it's April 30th.
Okay.
We're doing it at the Alpine Country Club.
The
Tickets
ACC.
are $85
Okay.
before March 30th, and you can get your tickets on our website at WFRI.org.
Tickets are available now, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
Get them now.
That's right.
You said how much are they? 85?
$85 before March 30th.
Just throw down a C note, ladies and gentlemen. Commemorate the 100
There you
with
go.
a 100.
That's right.
Ah, see that?
I like it.
to. All right, thank you. Saved that one. You folks also do some grant making. Tell me how that works.
Sure. Part of our mission is to focus on systemic change, but we don't believe that we have all the answers in the community. So part of the money that we get each year through our endowment is actually used to re-grant out to the community for other projects that we think also will create real change. So we're accepting grant applications now through March 20th. And basically, if you're an organization that is doing something that will impact specifically women and girls in our community, it's probably an opportunity to write for some funding. Last year, we made grants to Riot RI, which
Okay.
is actually working on making the nightclub system in Rhode Island safer for female and LGBTQ musicians to play and to play in, and also to
Sure.
just go to.
Sure.
They actually have used some of our funding to conduct some research and found that in Rhode Island, almost 50% of women have reported that they were sexually harassed in a nightclub.
Okay.
How is that safe? How can we change the narrative on that?
Okay.
So that's something that they're working on. We funded the Rhode Island Black Business Association for helping women of color into the leadership pipelines in our community. We made grants to Sistafire, which is looking at how women of color have been dying in our hospitals and why, and is there a way to change that, particularly around maternal health. And also Building Futures RI, which is looking to get more women in the trades. So a variety of different projects that are going on right now. We have $60,000 to give.
Okay.
And so we'll be accepting those grant applications. This year we're making 2-year grants, so it'll be your grant times 2 for the second year.
Okay.
So yeah.
Great. Well, that's excellent. If people want to learn more information, obviously your website is loaded with it. Just as we kind of wrap up here,
Yep.
what's that last thought you want people to go away with specifically regarding your organization, Women's Fund of Rhode Island?
Sure.
What's that one thing to stick out, aside from if you're not at the table, you are probably on the menu?
People are hungry right now for change, and they're hungry they're hungry to get involved. And we're not a
I
direct
agree.
service organization. We are an organization that is looking at how do we change that narrative for the future for everyone. So if you're somebody who's interested in being part of that long-term change, getting involved in our policy and advocacy committee might be a way to do that. Helping us to put on our cocktails and conversations events, which each time that we run that program tackles a different issue that women face in the community, those might be great opportunities to get involved. We're always looking to have new board members or prospective board members put into our pipeline, so that we can continually refresh our board and make sure that we're meeting the needs of the community.
Sure.
We're also looking to get more men involved.
Okay.
So the other event that I mentioned, the other fundraiser, is that we have our 100 Men for Equity campaign coming up in June. And, a lot of men think the Women's Fund of Rhode Island, it's for women. Well, actually, if we level the playing field, we can make things better for everyone, including men.
Sure.
And we need men to be at that table so that they're not on the menu. So being part of that conversation is really helpful as well.
Awesome. Well, we'll keep an eye out for that information. Folks, follow them on Facebook. Go online. Check out what they're doing. If you're interested, please reach out. Kelly, we've worked together before in various capacities. The Volunteer Center Rhode Island, a great organization as well. But proud of the work you're doing here, so thank you so much, and thanks for hopping in the car. And
my pleasure.
We can continue down our lovely tour of the east side, ladies and gentlemen, as we drive by a lovely Dunkin' Donuts.
Yay.
Which I might have to get my 7th coffee for the day.
There you go.